I just want to get your reaction on this case we saw today, especially since the fact that we saw conservative-leaning judges side with the majority.
Right. So there are lots of extraordinary things about this case that was based on what's called the independent state legislature theory. So one potential surprise was that the Supreme Court decided it at all. There was a real question whether the case was what we call moot, because the North Carolina State Supreme Court had changed its view, the very view that the Supreme Court was reviewing. But the Supreme Court found we have jurisdiction over this case, and then proceeded to reject what is effectively the most extreme vision of the independent state legislature theory. So the independent state legislature theory was essentially an idea that because the U.S. Constitution gives the state legislature, as opposed to other state institutions, the power to the power to control where federal elections and so on so forth are held, that meant even state courts couldn't review them. And that was a pretty extreme theory, and the Supreme Court resoundingly said no. I want to note that the decision is being held as 6-3. Actually, Justice Alito dissented only on mootness, so we don't even know where Justice Alito is on the merits here. It's possible it was 7-2.
It's pretty fascinating to consider, and I know that there are some case-specific issues here that might go beyond politics. But I caught up a little bit later to the extent that we want to go deeper into this opinion and its impact with former federal prosecutor Michael Zeldon about the implications of this decision. We spoke on Bloomberg Radio. Listen.
And the court in a 6-3 decision said, no, you are not insulated from judicial review in the ordinary sense, and no, this theory does not hold water. That's really important. That's a very pro-democracy ruling.
So I guess I wonder, Tara, to what extent is this about the bullet that was dodged versus an impact on what's existing now? Will this actually make it more difficult, for instance, to gerrymander, or is this about maintaining the status quo?
So right now, the Supreme Court has said if a state constitution bars, say, partisan gerrymandering, a state Supreme Court can say so. And that's extremely important. And what's unsaid or unclear from the decision is, is there a world in which state Supreme Courts actually could go too far? And the Supreme Court said yes. They just didn't say what too far might be. So there are still some possibilities that the Supreme Court could review a state court's review of what the state legislature did. But I still think it's hugely important that the Supreme Court resoundingly defeated this idea that state legislatures could do whatever they want and no other state institutions can say anything about it.
Mm-hmm. We have a number of other cases coming up when it comes to Biden and student loans, affirmative action. What is your sense on how the Supreme Court is going to rule on some of these top cases?
So the Supreme Court has given us some surprises this term, and I think that's really important. It rejected the challenge to President Biden's immigration enforcement priorities on standing grounds. It has rejected it rejected a challenge to the Indian Child Welfare Act on standing grounds, and upheld Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. So I want to be clear that any predictions I make could well turn out to be wrong, because I think we've all been surprised by some of their decisions. That said, I do anticipate a pretty big ruling on affirmative action, and one that ends affirmative action nationwide. And one of the really important things to keep in mind about that case is it involves both private and public institutions, because part of the case is about the U.S. Constitution, which applies only to public universities. But part of the case is about Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And that involves private institutions like Harvard. And so the Supreme Court's ruling, presumably later this week, is likely to end race-based affirmative action in admissions in every institution in the country.
That's a big deal and an important view to hear from you, Tara. With that said, how do you speak to this narrative that this is a shifting court after the last couple of cases that we've seen today, 6-3, with two conservative justices siding with the Chief Justice to rule against Republicans in North Carolina? Are you looking at this on a case-by-case basis or from a political point of view?
So I always assume that courts are going to rule primarily in the law, even if they might be influenced by other things. As I said, I was surprised by the Voting Rights Act decision. I was a lot less surprised by the decision today. The independent state legislature theory was a pretty extreme theory from anybody's perspective. And so I think it made a lot of sense that an overwhelming majority of the Supreme Court said that goes a bit too far.